I am not the first person to talk about how cool Hangul is, nor will I be the last, and that's for good reason. Hangul is aesthetically pleasing, linguistically significant, and the most unique writing system used by any major language worldwide. Most videos about Hangul only give a broad overview though, and even ones that go over all the letters are missing a lot of the juicy linguistic details surrounding it. So that's the gap I'll be filling today, making a comprehensive overview covering practically every detail relating to Hangul, from its simple and elegant aspects to its far less simple but still fairly interesting quirks. Hangul is used to write Korean both in the Korean peninsula and outside of it, and is the sole official writing system in both Koreas. Although if you want to be technical, it's only called Hangul in the south, and in the north it's referred to as Joseongul. The gul in both names means writing system. The Han in Hangul refers to Koreans, and is short for Hanguk, which is used in the south to refer to Korea, while Joseon is used by the Koreans in the north and in China to refer to Korea, and gets its name from the Joseon dynasty, which Sejong the Great, the creator of Hangul, ruled over in his time. To quickly summarize the history of Hangul, Korean was previously written using Hanja, i.e. Chinese characters, since historically Korea had a lot of influence from China, but hardly anyone could read or write, so Sejong designed Hangul in 1444 to be easy to use and increase literacy. But that gave commoners more power, which the elites weren't a fan of, so later kings banned Hangul. Although it would continue to be used informally, and experienced a big resurgence as Korean nationalism rose, and would become official in 1894, at which point it was used alongside some Hanja in a similar style to Japanese, but Hanja would gradually fade away. Hangul is a featural writing system, which essentially means that similar sounds have similar letters, oftentimes being modified forms of one another. Before discussing the letters of Hangul, it's good to have an understanding of which sounds are in Korean. The vowels are a, I, o, u, and e. There are nasals ma, na, nga, liquids ya, wa, a sound varying between ra and la, and the glottal fricative ha. Most of the obstruents come in pairs of three. There's plain pa, ta, ka, cha, sa, aspirated pa, ta, ka, cha, and thence pa, ta, ka, cha, sa, which are actually unique to the Koreanic languages. The syllable structure is CLVC, consonant liquid vowel consonant, with medial glides ya and wa. In Hangul, there are base letters for plain obstruents, though the letter for cha comes from the letter for sa, and they're each doubled to form the tense consonant letters, and have a line added to them to form the aspirated consonant letters. The letters for labial and alveolar stops are also similar to their corresponding nasals, with ba being formed from ma and ta coming from na. The velar nasal only appears at the ends of syllables in Korean, and its letter at the beginning of syllables indicates that there is no consonant, and serves as a placeholder since vowel letters must always follow a consonant letter. And if you add a hatch to the consonant placeholder, that turns it into ha. The letter for the rhotic also looks similar to fellow alveolars na and ta. The vowels e and are made of the same shape but in different directions, as are a, o, and u. And the vowel letters e and a are formed by adding e to a and o respectively. Ya is written by doubling the horizontal or vertical line of the vowel letter that follows it, turning a, o, u, e into ya, yo, yu, ye. Writing wa is a bit more complicated and involves Korean vowel harmony. Vowels a, o are light or yang vowels, and o, u are dark or yin vowels. The vowel directions also reflect this, since up and right are associated with yang, and down and left are associated with yin. At any rate, o comes before fellow yang vowels a and e to make wa and we, and u comes before yin vowels o and a to make wo and we. Then there's e, which can be preceded by o to form we, u to form yi, and to form we. And those are all the letters of Hangul. The basic consonant letter shapes are also based on parts of the mouth when making those sounds. Ma is a visual representation of the mouth, na is an outline of the tongue touching the upper palate, ka is an outline of the root of the tongue blocking the throat, and iung is the throat. To form actual words, Hangul puts letters into syllable blocks, with a consonant at the top, followed by a vowel letter, and coda consonants at the bottom if there are any. The consonant-vowel pairs work slightly differently. After vowels o, yo, u, and The initial consonant goes at the very top, and the vowel goes below it, but after every other vowel letter, it goes to the right of the consonant, pushing it a bit to the left. Vowel letters with w glides do a combination of this. Consonants are often pronounced differently at the ends of syllables, except for nasals ma, na, and nga. This letter is usually pronounced ra at the beginnings of syllables and la at the ends of syllables. Obstruents all merge to plain plosives, with ba, pa, and ba all being pronounced as unreleased ap, ka, and ka, as unreleased ak, and ta, sa, cha, cha, all pronounced as unreleased at. Now's a good time to share the names of the consonant letters, since it'll make explaining other things easier. Most of the names are formed by following the initial sound by e, and the sound they make at the ends of syllables, giving us nian, riel, miam, biup, ian, tiet, chiet, kiuk, tiet, piup, and hiet, although hiet is usually silent in the coda. There are just a few irregular names, those being giok, digut, and siot. The tense consonants are prefixed with sang, meaning pair, giving sang giok, sang digut, sang biup, sang siot, and sang jiet. In the north, the letter names are all consistent, and sang is replaced with duen. The letters giok, sanggiok, and kiuk have alternative forms after vowel letters to the right of them, becoming more curvy. There's also alternate forms of jiet, sangjiet, and chiet that look similar, which are used in certain fonts. The letter hiet also has two forms depending on the font, one with the top element being a hatch, and the other being two horizontal lines of different sizes. Chiet also has a horizontal line on top of it, or a vertical line attached to the rest of the letter, and combined with the alternate forms from earlier, means that chiet has 4 slightly different ways of being written depending on the font. Regardless, Hangul remains very easy to learn, and it's so celebrated among Koreans that it has its own holiday. Choseongul Day is celebrated in the north on January 15th, the anniversary of the creation of the writing system, and Hangul Day is celebrated in the south on October 9th, the anniversary of its publication. Korean isn't the only language to use Hangul. The closely related Jeju language spoken on Jeju Island also uses it, and in 2009 it was adopted for Jia, an Austronesian language spoken on Buton Island off the coast of southeastern Sulawesi in Indonesia. However, while the letters of Hangul are really easy to learn, Korean orthography isn't nearly as simple, since there are a lot of spelling rules. For one, there are a handful of clusters of consonant letters at the ends of syllables, which are all pronounced as single consonants. However, if a particle or word starting with a vowel, such as e, n, or e, comes after them, the sound or sequence of sounds is fully pronounced. The same is true for phonetic unreleased plosives, which are realized as plain, aspirated, or tense in this context. For example, this word, meaning chicken, is pronounced tak by itself, but pronounced as talgi, talgul, talgun, talge, and so on. And this word, meaning front, is pronounced ap in isolation, and apro or ape when followed by particles. The letter riel is also pronounced r when followed by one of these suffixes, and in the clusters nian riel, riel nian, and riel riel, the whole sequence gets pronounced as a double la. But if riel comes after any other consonant, it's pronounced as na. If plain obstruents ba, da, ka, or ja are followed by a vowel and preceded by another vowel, nasal, or real, they're pronounced voiced ba, da, ga, ja. But if they're adjacent to hiet, they become aspirated. And if any plain obstruent comes after a phonetic coda stop, it's pronounced tense. Additionally, if a coda stop comes before nasal ma or na, then the stop becomes a nasal, with ap turning into ma, like in imnida, at turning into na, and ak turning into nga. And these rules can combine, so clusters with giuk and riel are pronounced angna, as in songnu, meaning pomegranate. And that's not even going into the fairly significant amount of allophony in Korean. For starters, when sa and sa are palatalized, i.e. followed by e or ya, they turn into si and si respectively. Da and ta also palatalize to ja and cha, but only when followed by a suffix, and aren't palatalized in words like odi, meaning where. Intervocalic double la gets palatalized to ya, and when followed by ya, na gets palatalized to nya. The sound k shifts to the rare ki when palatalized, and when followed by the vowel it gets pronounced as k, as in kda, meaning big. The h phoneme is the final boss of allophony. It gets palatalized to hi, is pronounced h when followed by and when followed by o, u, or w, gets labialized to fwa. And as an added bonus, these all become voiced ha, yi, r, and w in between vowels, and after nasals or ril, where it may also be dropped altogether. Nasals ma and na also typically become denasalized ba and da at the starts of words. Then there's we and yi, which used to be and u, and are still sometimes pronounced that way, but we and wi are much more common, and we often gets pronounced like e after a consonant. You might be saying, these spelling rules are a bit much, but at least you can tell how a word is pronounced based on how it's written, right? No, not always. While the majority of the time Hangul is fully phonemic, there are quite a few words with irregular pronunciations. For example, when a non-plain stop like chiet is at the end of a syllable and followed by another word starting with an iung, it sometimes gets pronounced like a plain stop. So these words are pronounced myodwol and myodok, not myotchwol or myotchok. Then there's saishiot, which is a marker used in many compound nouns, appearing at the coda of the preceding noun. When it comes after vowels, it acts like a normal shiot, being pronounced at and making following plain sounds tense. But while saishiot is both unwritten and unpronounced after words ending in consonants, it still turns following stops tense. So while the word for fish looks like it's pronounced mulgogi, since it's a compound word, it's pronounced mulgogi instead. This also happens with a lot of Sino-Korean words that are interpreted as compounds, such as with hyokwa, sosu, and mujokgon. And when I say it happens with a lot of Sino-Korean words, I mean a lot of Sino-Korean words. There's also N insertion, where oftentimes when a coda consonant in a compound is followed by iung and I or ya, then a na phoneme is inserted, such as in konnip and tamnyo. This happens more often than not, but there are still plenty of words where this doesn't happen, such as iryoil, making this something to be memorized. Two other irregularities are the pronunciations of the possessive and subject forms of do, a very informal second-person pronoun, which are spelled like this and pronounced di and diga, to distinguish them from de and dega, the possessive and subject forms of the informal first-person singular, since a majority of speakers merge a and a. Another one-off irregularity is that when we is used as the genitive particle, it's often pronounced a. There are also cases where words are officially pronounced according to regular spelling rules, but colloquially are irregular, such as the inflection of got, meaning flower, being pronounced like goshi and gosul colloquially instead of standard gochi or gochul. Also in colloquial speech, plain bata, ka, cha, sa are often tensed in loanwords, such as in aisu, bosu, but also a few native words, like takta. And to top everything off, Korean has a length distinction in a lot of dialects, but length is completely unwritten, meaning if you want to learn which words have long vowels, you need to memorize the words with them individually. I know you most certainly did not ask, but are you wondering where Korean got its long vowels from? They actually arose from Middle Korean tones. That's right, Korean used to be a tonal language, and in fact, a few dialects of Korean still retain tone. Regardless, Middle Korean, the form of the language when Hangul was created, had a handful of sounds that were later lost or merged, and had letters to represent them all. Middle Korean used to have three tones: a high tone, written with one dot to the left of the syllable, a rising tone, written with two dots, and a low tone, which was unmarked. Middle Korean had three voiced fricatives. There was va, written like biup, but with a circle under it, and za, written similar to shiot, but as a literal triangle, in case you thought Hangul wasn't geometric enough. Unmodified iung actually used to represent the voiced velar fricative ra, with a vertical line being added on top of it to form the letter for the velar nasal nga, and a horizontal line was added for the glottal stop. Hiet was also part of this set, and its letter could be doubled to form a tense ha. There was also a lost vowel, which used to be read as all, but merged with at the ends of words and a elsewhere. The letter is still used in Jeju, where it is now pronounced all. And since tia tia has a v sound, it uses the corresponding old letter for it. As a side note, Middle Korean vowels were a bit different from their modern counterparts. Used to be I, O used to be A, and we, and Y used to be diphthongs I, oi, and ui. There were also many more consonant clusters in Middle Korean, notably at the beginnings of syllables, but these were lost or shifted to aspirated or tense consonants. There are even more obsolete letters, which were used to write sounds from Middle Chinese. Fun fact, there are a total of 11,172 possible syllable blocks in modern Korean, with 254 different components, and combined, they take up a lot of space in Unicode, rivaled practically only by Hanzi and Kanji. That's pretty much all there is to say. Although Hangul winds up not being as simple as it may initially seem, that doesn't change the fact that Hangul is a very cool writing system and deserves all the hype and praise it gets. This video was originally going to be about featural writing systems in general, but there was so much to discuss with Hangul that the video would have felt disjointed if I had talked about them. There are two featural writing systems in particular that I absolutely adore and might make a video exploring in detail if people are interested. For now, thank you to my Patreon supporters, Furoist, Dope Kid, Sunder, Erikasim, Blairdactyl, and Adam Trinek. Consider becoming a patron or subscribing if you'd like to support the channel, and until next time, 다음에 또 봐!